Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Uh, as you could tell from the phone intro, we've got a little bit of a different video today. I've mentioned over the past couple videos that I've been doing some practice sets with friends, and after one of them, me and my friend Blake hopped on call for 3 hours to talk about the set, talk about our teams. Just in general, this was a good practice set for us. We did this practice set a couple weeks ago um, ahead of an MSS this weekend, which we were both at. Uh, Blake ended up finishing 3-3 there. I finished 2-4. But that's a story for a video later this week. For today, uh, I'm not going to make you guys sit through all 3 hours. I don't know how much you can tell. I've cut it down a fair bit. So, yeah. Here's that conversation. Enjoy.
I'm not the greatest at remembering offhand everything that was going on, so it's especially good that you've got the video.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah, of course. No, I'm the same way where I'm
so
like, dude, right now I can barely tell you what happened in game one. I can tell you like some of the
yeah.
pivotal things from my end. And by that I
Mhm.
mean I could think of like one or two plays I made, and that's it. That's all I have for
Yeah,
game one. Um so yeah. Yeah, no, I'm
but I
I'm
can
I'm
I can
pumped to go through
probably
this
tell
set.
you yeah, I can probably tell you what I was thinking when I see what I was doing, but
Yeah, no, same.
just
I think this is gonna be really cool to hear what each other were thinking because I think it gives an
okay.
insight into like, hold on, what do people want to do against my team? So we just played the wildest set, uh, the most stressful set. Where's all right? This is game one team preview. Here we are. So I guess so for me, I know like coming into this set, the reason I wanted to play, the reason I hit the I mean, apart from just getting good practice in with one of my guys, right? One of the reasons I hit you up specifically was I know you're running Ice Rider, and it's a matchup I
Yeah.
really want to drill. Um, so yeah, I guess uh, anything you want to share or talk about in terms of like team preview when you see my team. Like I don't know how well you feel about your Kyogre matchup, or if my team had anything in particular that like you thought like you could exploit.
So normally I actually feel pretty good about a Kyogre matchup, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Especially because I've got the Leaf Blade Gallade. I've got Terra Grass too on multiple things, as well as the Amoonguss. Like in a lot of my other matches, I've actually been fairly decent against Kyogre. Um, so I went into this pretty confident, I would think, but shows me, I guess.
Well, I mean, I've also been like studying Ice Rider all day, so like you're good. No, I even in general, like I think Ice Rider has a really good matchup into Kyogre. I was playing a
Mm.
Tommy Tuesday yesterday, and I looked afterwards. Kyogre went, I want to say like 3-11 or 3-14 against Ice Rider. It was its worst
Whoa.
matchup by far. Um, and as far as like the Kyogres go, like I was 3-3, so I was like up there in terms of the Kyogre players, but like there were strong Kyogre players that were still losing to Ice Rider. So it's a tough matchup for sure. And like I think the
Yeah.
set's gonna show that like I think as the Kyogre player in this matchup, you have to play out of your mind and get lucky to win the set, which isn't a good sign, isn't a good feeling. But also, I don't know how much more I can add in terms of counterplay because, like, into Ice Rider, right? I'm like, well, if we go into Trick Room, Amoonguss can put you to sleep, but you cover for that with Terra Grass, Follow Me, and Didi. Or your Amoonguss just we trade sleeps, right? I can try to like
get into the Trick Room mind games with Farigarath, and we saw how that played out. It was stressful for both of us,
Well,
right?
yeah.
I could try to burn you with Will-O-Wisp, but one, you have Follow Me. Two, if I miss a Will-O-Wisp, it's GG's, right? So,
Mhm.
like, I think, like, the way my Incineroar is set up, I have room to miss one Will-O-Wisp against the Calyrex Ice before the game is over, right? So,
And and keep in mind too, I didn't Terra the Cali, but my Cali is Terra Fire.
yeah,
So,
yeah, that's
but there's
that
yeah,
was
I wouldn't really do that against the Kyogre though.
exactly, yeah. Like, the one saving grace of playing Kyogre is, uh, basically, against Calyrex, I feel I have lines against both Terra Fire and Terra Water. Um,
Mhm.
right? Because a lot of Calyrex will go defensive Terra Water. Um, and in those matchups, I can bring Raging Bolt. Um, but if the Calyrex is like Terra Fire or Terra Grass or some other Terra, I don't know why you would have any other Terra on Calyrex. Um, but if it's some other Terra, right? If it's Terra Fire, Kyogre puts out the offensive pressure. I'm chilling. If it's
Yeah.
Terra Grass, I can burn it. I have Ice Beam for it, right? All that good stuff. So
Mm.
yeah, it's one of those things where, like, I know my team has the tools to deal with Ice Rider, but oh my lord, it's difficult, and I have to play out of my mind. And, like, I don't. We're gonna see this set. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to replicate some of this in actual tournaments. This was insane. We get into game one, and immediately I just see this lead, and I'm immediately terrified, bro. I don't know how you felt, but I was like, oh, I don't like this one bit. Because Gallade does work against everything on my team.
Mhm.
And uh Gallade and Didi, once you brought in Didi too, I was like, all right, there are gonna be multiple Trick Room setters, and there's gonna be like some real ugly mess here.
Oh yeah, I have three setters, and I think I brought all three to at least two of the matches.
Yeah, no, yeah. And Didi, yeah, they did all make an appearance. Yeah, so the one thing I will say was I was very happy that I showed Amoongus early in game one, partly because I
Yeah,
saw how much Terra Grass you had, and I was like, I'm gonna force a Terra out of you. I wanted you to burn your Terra early, just so that I
yeah,
had like
I
that
had
peace of
no
mind and that
choice.
knowledge.
Yeah, that I definitely had no choice but to go for the Terragrass follow me here because that's I mean this is one thing that I like this is one thing that I know is a problem for my team. You know, Amoonguss is so slow that if I get the trick room up and then someone just has a random Amoonguss on my team, they can just put the whole thing to sleep, right? So I toyed around with a couple of different things like safety goggles
Mm.
or on the NDD as well as what's the other thing Ogerpon.
Oh yeah,
But I ended up going for this because um it's actually on top of that, in NDD gives me a bunch of really good matchups into some other things, um, like Miraidon, actually.
oh yeah, because
Now
you win the
obviously
terrain war.
that wasn't relevant here, but yeah, the like and in some of those other matches, what ends up happening is the Miraidon comes out first, then the electric terrain goes up, then I get the psychic terrain, and then with the psychic seed, even if it wants to attack me, I'm good.
Once you Terra Grass this Indeedee, I felt pretty good here. I'm not gonna lie. Should I turn the sound on? I should probably turn the sound on.
You could do it. So one one thing, to be honest with you, I don't 100% remember what was going through my head here, but I definitely remembered not really being 100% confident with the leads once I saw what was going on, because like sure I could do that, and either way you swap the Amoonguss out, so it was kind of all for nothing. The only thing that I've got really as a benefit here at the moment is that the ensign can't fake me out because of the terrain, but like I don't have like nearly as much offensive pressure as I would like. I mean, yeah, I can helping hand and either Sacred Sword or Leaf Blade, but I'm pretty sure we see that not KO the Kyogre, right? Like once.
Not quite. So on this turn, I fumbled. Initially I was like, all right, I need to Terra Grass. I'm gonna Terra Grass, and I think I locked Terra Grass Will-O-Wisp, or eventually I click Parting Shot here. Um, and either cautiously or unconsciously, uh, I forgot to Terra my Incineroar.
Oh, I've been there.
Yeah. So, hold up. Yeah, I can sneak around. Okay. Um. So yeah, I think this was a case of me just like moving a little quickly, and uh, I don't know how much this would have affected the game, because I think I do end up going for, uh, I think I end up going for Will-O-Wisp just because I'm like I don't want any Leaf Blades now that you've burned your Terra, right? I
Mm.
think I was like in my head I was like a burned Gallade Leaf Blade with Intimidate. I feel good. Like I could live with that.
Yeah.
I could live that with Kyogre. Um,
And the other thing on my end as well is that I can either wide guard, right, to protect from the Kyogre, or I can go for an attack. I do have fairly good offense into pretty much your whole side of the field here, but I can either do that or defend. I can't really do both here.
Yeah, and that's something that I eventually started being able to exploit on Gallade a little bit, right? Just the fact that
Mm.
you could either damage my Kyogre or you can hit wide guard. Um, but yeah, not terroring here just came back to bite me because you saw the offensive pressure, and I think you realized too. Um, how much trouble did you think Incineroar was going to give your team?
Um, it kind of depends, because a lot of the times in other matches, um, like they'll sure there's the Intimidate, but I one of my strongest attackers is Blood Moon, and that's special. The other one is Calyrex, and it's got the Clear Amulet. So usually, as long as I can, I have answers for Incineroar, um, but it doesn't help the damage reduction, you know?
Yeah. No, I figured, and the reason I wanted to Terra was because I
Mm.
figured you'd go after Incineroar, and I was right. But I saw this helping hand come out, and I was like, oh, okay, someone's eating a strong Leaf Blade or Sacred Sword, and Incineroar just drops. Incineroar just drops. And like at this point, I knew I was in trouble because like I
Yeah.
can't safely spore you, right? You have Follow Me.
Mhm.
Um, and without Incineroar, I can't really stop you from rolling. So like the rest of this
Yeah.
game ended up being like, I feel like from here you just walked me down really effectively. Like I'm forced to Terra in the face of Leaf Blade, which
Mhm.
is gonna come back to bite me when Calyrex hits the field. Um, and so here I'm like, if I can maybe get rid of Indeedee, maybe there's a chance. Um,
Mhm.
but like at this point, I was like, I knew I was cooked.
Yeah, and so one thing, just to expand a little bit more on your previous question about the Incineroar, one thing that I was thinking in that spot, now that I remember, is that like I didn't think you were gonna give me the Kyogre at that point in the game, you know, like
Ah, makes sense.
like it, like it, especially in Reg G, it's protect the restricted, right?
Oh yeah,
So
100%.
anything if anything's gonna switch or protect, it's probably that towards the beginning. So that's another reason why I was like I was thinking the Kyogre will probably protect or switch, and the Incin will probably be left open, and that's why I did that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah. I was not expecting you to click Trick Room there. This threw me.
Well, so okay, so here's one of the things. One of the biggest things that I had a problem with your team was the Farigiraf, right?
Mm.
And so almost the entire time, like anytime it was on the field, and even sometimes when it's not, I'm like, what's this Farigiraf doing? Um, and especially, is it gonna try and reverse me?
Yeah.
So I purposely tried not to like just be like I'm just gonna go for Trick Room right away. I was like I'm not gonna just go for it right out the gate because that's what a lot of Trick Room players do. So
Yeah. But yeah, at this point, when you get out of Trick Room thinking I'm gonna reverse it, in my mind, I'm like, hold on, who wants Trick Room? Because another thing I was thinking at this point, I'm gonna let this ride, is, are you max speed Ursaluna? Is that why you wanted to like get out of Trick Room? Like, I like
no, that was where remember I said I made a hard call that didn't pay off. That was it right there. I was
Oh,
thinking that you were gonna reverse, and then I would get it back up.
yeah. So it's funny how that ends up working out here, because in my mind, I'm like, okay, who wants Trick Room? I can't tell. Maybe this is max speed Ursaluna, so let me get back in Trick Room because I think Trick Room's on my advantage. It ends up looking like the most genius play of all time from me. Because we just both protect Trick Room. And like this is me just flailing, trying to find any out I can, but like, yeah, no, at this
And
point,
I
like, once you click Trick Room again, like I realize, okay, that wasn't, it's not the case where I have the advantage under Trick Room. And I was like, I'm just gonna click buttons here, I'm gonna pick up my double KO, and I'm gonna see if I can get back into this game. But like at this point, like I pick up this double KO and I'm feeling okay, and then I realize, wait, you still have Gallade in the back. This is a problem. And you have Gallade in the back, and I've terrored my Kyogre. So like, at this point, I'm basically playing with Farigiraf and Amoonguss. And it's like, I don't think Farigiraf and Amoonguss that cannot Terra out of its ice weakness. I think I'm cooked.
Yeah, it's pretty tough to get out of this at this point.
Yeah. Losing in Sin early really like fumbling the not terroring in Sin really comes back to bite me in this one. And I don't know what I end up going for. I think at this point I'm just like, let me just see how much Twin Beam does. To be honest, I could have just backed out of the game right here, and in a tournament I might, just to like hide information.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the read I end up going for. I end up going for maybe you try setting up Trick Room, or maybe, Glacial Lance doesn't KO Amoonguss. Right? I was just looking for anything at this point, and I was not gonna get it. There was no world. I don't know why I thought Amoonguss could live a Glacial Lance. I thought Amoonguss was him.
Yeah, I mean, Amoonguss is good. Amoonguss is very good. Don't get me wrong, but
It's not live Glacial Lance good.
yeah, and I'm pretty sure that was one of the I'm pretty sure that was one of the turns I got the call right for when you were gonna Trick Room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Trick Room is up now, right?
Yeah. I set up Trick Room up for Farigiraf, and you just clicked Wide Guard Glacial Lance. So I was like, well, maybe if I live +1 Glacial Lance, or maybe if you protect Calyrex, maybe if you throw, you're not gonna throw in this position ever.
Yeah, it's once Trick Room is up and you're facing down a +1 Calyrex, it's kind of GG.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And at this point, I was really feeling it because I was like, oh man, like in my head, I was like, I brought the best 4 I possibly could have, and I still can't beat Calyrex. like, like I just can't utilize the tools correctly. Game 2, I know you made an adjustment. Were you expecting me to change something up, or was there something from that game 1 you didn't like that caused you to switch up who you brought for game 2?
Um, yeah, so I believe what it was
Uh,
oh, let me see what. As a matter of fact, let's just go to the leads
I was gonna
because I
say,
remember I
yeah.
remember I made the adjustment. Yeah.
So this is the change for turn 1. Indeed, he's behind Fergraph's big head there. Um, oh, okay, hold on. There we go. It jumps to like specific timestamps. It doesn't jump like forward or back like a certain amount of time. That's so weird.
That's weird.
Windows Media Player sucks. But yeah, these are the game 2 leads. I realized that leading a Mungus into your team is kind of just suicide. Because it ends up being super passive, and Amoongus, like, if you lead Gallade again, Amoongus is really threatened. If you lead Calyrex, Amoongus is really threatened. Um, so I was like, there's no point in leading Amoongus. Uh, we see in a second
Okay,
here. I
so
brought the same 4 because I was like, I literally have no other tools. I just need to find a way to win with these 4.
so now that I see it again, I can tell you what I was thinking here
Yeah.
is that um I was concerned about the Kyogre, right? And even though it turned out well in the previous match, I wasn't really super comfortable with it.
Okay.
So I was thinking that with this lead, even though it is a pretty passive lead, um, if you lead the Kyogre, I could potentially Terra Grass again here and have 2 resists and be able to put the Kyogre to sleep.
Ah, that makes sense. Yeah, and I think especially right because with the exception of like, there's only a handful of restricteds that want to be out there turn 1 putting out pressure. For the
Mm.
most part, most restricteds want to sit in the back and basically
Yeah,
wait
that's
for their moment to come out and sweep. And Kyogre's one of those. So the fact that like I let it turn 1, I think opened up like an interesting kind of mind game. I let it game 1. I let it game 1 because I was like, I really don't know what else I could do here. Let me see if I could just put out
and
some instant
I
offensive
was thinking
pressure and
you were
see if I
gonna
could dictate the pace. And it did not work. But
yeah, well it worked in that it affected how I was thinking about game 2 because I thought you were gonna do that again. You know,
interesting.
that's why I led this way.
Yeah, I forget exactly what I was looking for here on leads. What I knew was uh I didn't have I was basically like looking to bide my okay, I went all the way back to the start of the turn. Um I was basically like try to look to bide my time to see if I could force you to Terra Indeedee. Was like
Mhm.
something I was looking to do. So I was like, all right, let me parting shot out, let me reposition. Also, if you trick room, I'll bring a Mungus out. Um,
Yeah.
twin beam just to, keep a Mungus on its toes, right? And I was like, let me get Incineroar out of here so I can't go to sleep. That's the other thing I was thinking. I was like, all right, if Amoongus wants to go for Spore, I'm not going to let it happen.
Which I totally wanted to go for Spore.
Yeah, I was like,
I absolutely didn't.
I cannot afford to eat any sleep turns against this team. I've got to just get all my Spore immunities on the field at once and figure out, because that's the other thing. I alluded to an adjustment from game 1 to game 2, right? Switching
Mhm.
out Ursaluna for Amoongus completely changes this matchup. Because now we both of our Amoonguses are putting so much pressure on the other team.
Yeah.
Right? And you've got Terra Grass on Indeedee, you've got Terra Grass on Gallade, right?
Mhm.
And you have Follow Me on Indeedee. So Follow Me, Terra Grass, Indeedee, and you have Terra Grass on Gallade, and you have Amoongus, right? So the only Pokemon that's like really susceptible to sleep on your side is Calyrex, and that's if Indeedee is not on the field. Meanwhile, for me, this is it. This is all I have to deal with sleep. So, because I cannot afford to Terra Kyogre in this matchup. And so now I'm just like, all right, let me see if I could deal with Amoonguss somehow, some way. And also I was like, if I could catch it, I almost clicked Pollen Puff into Indeedee on this turn. And I think that genuinely could have changed this game. Because I don't know how much Pollen Puff does to Indeedee at +1 spin F, but it's not nothing.
Not nothing for sure. I know that eventually came though.
Yeah, but that was I Pollen Puffed in Indeedee where it was like a guaranteed KO because you didn't have your Psychic Seed and you were already like I think it was like 30%. Like it was like something really low. But this one was more of I was thinking of throwing a Pollen Puff out there, and I was like, let me just Spore because in case you don't Terra, right? I punish that. And then I think I was thinking of Twin Beam Pollen Puff as like a way to basically punish a Terra from you, but I was like, let me not make that read. Let me just make the safe play and just sleep you.
Now, are you min speed Amoonguss here?
Yeah.
Okay, so actually, you have the slower Amoonguss.
Interesting. Good to know.
Yeah. Mine, I'm running a negative attack nature on mine.
Makes sense. Yeah. There is definitely like use cases for like that faster Amoonguss. Especially if you are not scared of being a Trick Room. Right? I think like mid-speed Amoonguss, if you're gonna have Amoonguss on a team that does not necessarily want to be in Trick Room, like mid-speed is a must because you need to be able to put out that pressure with your own Amoonguss to help stall out the Trick Room in a way where your team doesn't necessarily need that, right? Because your pressure to like either ride out Trick Room or your pressure while you're in Trick Room is right there on the field on that left slot for you, right? Like if that's not Trick Room pressure, I don't know what is. So yeah, here I was like, I think I can give up a Trick Room. I think I can give up a I was like, let me try to Spore. If you Terra Grass Trick Room, I'll deal with it. I think if I'd thrown out a Pollen Puff here, I don't know if I could have prevented the Trick Room. I forget how much damage I do. Oh, but you end up following me. You end up not clicking Trick Room. Interesting.
Oh. So
yeah, I think you end up just like. Sorry, go ahead. I'm gonna let you talk through that.
No, I'm just trying to think because I mean it's already been established, right? Like I don't remember everything.
Bro, we have
about this match.
We have goldfish memory. It's okay.
But I'm almost like, especially with the Terra Follow Me here. Like I don't see why I wouldn't. Well, I can see two plays for myself. Either just go for the Glacial Lance, or
well, this was the turn you swapped. This was the turn you swapped in.
Oh, that was when I swapped in. Okay, so there's not.
So like this is the board state at the start of the turn. Right.
Gotcha. Okay. So then, for the most part, I'm just trying to protect the switch in.
Yeah. I think. Yeah, I was gonna say. I think that's what you really wanted to do here. You were just covering for if I called the Amoonguss switch. I was never gonna call the Amoonguss switch here. I could not really afford to because I was like, I need to, maybe deal with this Indeedee, and it just does not pan out here. Here at this point, I'm like, all right, now that Calyrex is on the field, I need to do things against Calyrex. Let me have Incineroar hit the field. The one thing I was afraid of was you reading the Incineroar switch, and I think you tried to do that.
You see what my play was, and I'll let you know.
Yeah. But I was like, let me get Incineroar on the field. Let me hope that you don't read the switch, and from there, right? As long as we're not in Trick Room, I'm okay. If we get into Trick Room, I Terra and I get one chance to burn this thing. Yeah, because you sent the Helping Hand High Horsepower into the Farigiraf slot instead of the Amoonguss slot. I don't know if you were reading it. I don't know if you were reading an Incineroar switch or if you didn't want to click Glacial Lance or.
Yeah, I don't remember everything I was thinking there,
Of
but
course.
but just in looking back at this, like I definitely don't think that I definitely don't think that you're gonna just let me get away with the glacial lance. And so that's part of the reason why I went for the high horsepower instead. Now, clearly my targeting was wrong with that, but that's that's at least part of the thinking.
Yeah, once I saw that this was the play you made, and that
Mm.
we were, and now the board state is we're not in Trick Room. I've got full health Incineroar, full health Farigiraf. I'm feeling pretty okay. The one thing that's concerning for me is you still have Follow Me, right? So like,
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I want to Will-O-Wisp your Calyrex, but I know I may not necessarily get that. So what's my contingency plan? Because at this point, right, like, you're if I can't deal with your Calyrex here with Incineroar on the field, it's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sorry. I am having a little bit of trouble with what
No,
what I
you're
was
good.
actually
You're good.
thinking
You're
here.
good, dude. I'm also Goldfish
Yeah.
Brain. Also, at this point, I'm sitting here and I'm like, you're being so aggressive outside of Trick Room. I was afraid of a Helping Hand Glacial Lance, to be completely honest. I was like, let me get
Oh, okay.
my ice resistance out there. If you send a high horsepower, I think Kyogre can eat it. Let me just let me get some pressure on. All right, and let me Terra Incineroar, in case you do send the high horsepower that way. All right. Let me get
Well,
two.
not only yeah,
I was gonna say just two
yeah,
water types on the field against Calyrex is a better position to be in than most of what I could ask for.
yeah. That's definitely a pretty good position to be in because the glacial lance does pretty much nothing, you know.
Yeah,
Okay, so at this point, I get the trick room back up, um,
I
but
think this is the
there's
first time you get
not
Trick Room up in this set
or
or in this
or in
game.
this. So so that's one of the things like just trying to what's it trying to rely on the bulk a little bit
Yeah,
like it's like I will say like I don't like to like only do that because even though you can take hits you can't take hits forever, you
yeah,
know. So eventually I'm always gonna want to get the trick room up. It's just a matter of when. But like I was saying, it's it's that Farigiraf that's one of the things that's stopping me from just going with Trick Room like right away. You
gotcha.
know, because the you could reverse it at any time. I mean you did a couple of times throughout the matches.
Yeah, no. Like, that's good to hear that like Farigiraf is a little bit of a deterrent. Just in
Yeah,
being able to
and
like make you think twice about clicking Trick Room while it's on the field. Yeah. And at this point, again, I'm like, all right, let me try to burn this thing while it's here. And also, I was like, I'm not afraid of getting KO'd. If there's any time for me to send an Origin Pulse, this is it.
Mhm.
Um, that knockoff ends up being helpful a little bit, just getting that chip damage down.
Yeah, I mean nothing wrong with that. And the I feel like I didn't get much value out of the Rocky helmet anyway. You know, like it's one thing if there's like it's one thing if there's like Urshifu on the field. Amoonguss Rocky helmet Amoonguss loves Urshifu,
Oh
but
yeah,
like aside from that,
yeah. We're both rocking the Rocky Helmet Amoonguss, and neither of us are in this matchup. I think we were both very well aware of the items not doing much for us here.
Yeah.
It's kind of a dead item slot, which sucks, but I mean, you just need it for other matchups, right? Some matchups it's just not gonna be there. But yeah, once when you switched out Calyrex into Amoonguss on this turn, at this point I'm like, all right, I'm back to having like the pressure on my side. I can get Incineroar off the field. I don't need to eat sleep, and I'm just trying to figure out exactly what order I need to do this in, because Amoonguss, right? I've got two things that can sleep on the field. One of them can protect, one of them can't. And so I'm just trying to figure out, okay, do I want to bring Amoonguss in here, or do I want to bring Farigiraf in here, and like what order do I want to do this in? Just to make sure that like at the end of this turn the board state isn't completely screwed.
Yeah. And meanwhile, on my end, I'm looking at this and I'm like, there is nothing I can I can do here. I'm here with 2 slow half health mons against
Yeah.
your
I mean,
Kyogre.
Yeah, I mean, you're in Trick Room, which is a nice saving grace.
I still don't, okay.
Yeah, you're in Trick Room.
Okay. Well, that being the case, I should always spore the Kyogre slot, like no matter what.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you do here. And I think you get Calyrex back in, or you get Gallade back in. I think you get Gallade back in. I did feel pretty good about this position. We were about halfway through Trick Room. I think there were 2 Trick Room turns left. But you were sitting there with Gallade and Amoonguss, and I was like, all right, I can either put your Gallade to sleep here and neutralize it, or you're going to switch into Indeedee. I get Farigiraf out, and now we're kind of back to square one.
Yeah, which I believe, is exactly what happened.
Yeah. I will say, it is annoying that I did let you get Psychic Terrain back up. But at the end of the day, like Incineroar's fake out pressure wasn't really doing much for me in this matchup anyways. Like I only got to exploit it once. But now I'm just like, all right, we're back to Amoonguss staring down 2 things it cannot put down to sleep. I'm happy. And my Amoonguss staring down 2 things that you can't put down, that I can't put to sleep. So, you know.
Yeah,
it's a tricky position.
This I believe is the turn when after the useless sport trades.
Yeah.
I believe this is when the clear smog turn happens. Because at this point I'm definitely thinking like so this is what the last turn of Trick Room.
I believe so. Right? Do I check it? I do check it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's the last turn of Trick Room. So and I definitely would have checked this as well. And so one of the things I'm thinking here is like, so I don't have the option to double Trick Room, right? Like Amoonguss obviously can't do that. So I still would like to be in I still would like to be in Trick Room, and so hopefully I can hopefully I can get some health back on this Indeedee so that I can use it to set up again, or use it as a redirector to set up again, because the Amoonguss isn't going to really do much in the way of a redirector, because even though I do have Rage Powder, it's not going to stop your Amoonguss from doing whatever it wants.
Yeah. Between Amoonguss, Farigiraf, and Kyogre's spread moves, Amoonguss doesn't really get it. Like, your Amoonguss doesn't really get a chance to play redirection. And it's kind of a similar thing for mine, too, because between your Terra Grasses and Glacial Lance, right, I'm not redirecting anything with my Amoonguss either. It's kind of funny how, for both of us, we bring Amoonguss because we kind of have to bring Amoonguss, but it's not much more than just a Spore Bot.
Yeah, right? Like we kind of it's like we kind of cancel each other out with that.
Exactly. Like me, I'm in a position where like I have to bring Amoonguss because I cannot bring one of my other 2 Pokemon. And it's like if I get a Spore, cool. But yeah, both of our Amoonguss are just, we're basically kind of playing 3v3 in a way, like this entire set.
Yeah.
Yeah. This turn where I was like, I didn't click Pollen Puff earlier. let me click Pollen Puff now. Worst case scenario, Gallade or Calyrex switches in, and I do a little bit of chip, right? Best case scenario, Indeedee drops. And without the psych... I don't know this calc. I don't know if +1 Spadef you lived that or not. Because you were at like 30, I think. You're at like a healthy number.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I had a decent amount of health. I'm not sure. I I was not at +1
No.
for my special defense. So I'm not sure if that's a roll or if that just always drops.
We should probably
But
both learn this, actually.
what I think is more what I think is more pertinent here though is just that we learned that you have the slower Amoonguss, which like almost everything else on my team is 0 speed, I think, except for the Indeedee and the Amoonguss.
See, for me, I wasn't even thinking about that. I just kind of assumed our Amoonguss speed tied. Because they weren't on the field together all that often. And I don't know, to be just with the nature of our Amoonguss interactions, I don't know if the speed order necessarily mattered.
It didn't for the most part, but it definitely mattered there because at that point we both went for Pollen Puff on the Indeedee. And because you're slower, yours went first.
I see. Oh my god. Yeah. Oh, that's that's where that comes into play. Oh wow. Yeah. Okay.
I literally get nothing done this turn, right? Because my Indeedee drops and then it just says Pollen Puff doesn't work or whatever.
Yeah, so. Pollen Puff failed. Yeah. 0 special attack Amoonguss versus max HP for Spadef is 32 to 39%. So that might have been a roll.
Close.
That might have been a roll.
Yeah, it might have been. I'm not sure.
Yeah. At this point now, we're out of Trick Room. And I know that 3 of these 4 Pokemon can set up Trick Room. But importantly, I've gotten rid of your redirection. So at this point, I'm feeling pretty good. And I think I look at the Pokemon menu here. And this is where I notice that I think this is where the Calyrex matchup clicked for me. Because this is the point where I noticed, hold on, I'm 4 healthy Mons down. I'm 4 healthy Mons up.
Nothing
on
to you.
on your 2, right? And it took a lot of like intricate positioning, and there was definitely like a couple opportunities where you could have stepped on the gas that you did in game 3. But like when I saw this position in game 2, that's when I was like, hold on. Calyrex is not an impossible matchup for me. I have the tools. It's just I have to get damn near every turn perfect, right? Because even from here, right, just like looking at this, right, I've got 4 Pokemon that I've taken at most like a little bit of chip. You're down to your last 2. We're out of Trick Room. This should be like the pristine position to just clean up this game, and this game still ends up being close. Like, I think I still get this game by the skin of my teeth.
Well, because it's like if there's anything to be down to on my team, Gallade and Calyrex is not bad.
Exactly. Especially in the Kyogre matchup, where it's like if you have Calyrex in the end game against Kyogre and you want one partner for it, it's Wide Guard. Because that just immediately neutralizes a lot of what I want to do. Right?
Yeah.
Unless I'm like an AV or spec set. Because then I have Thunder as a stab option as well. Or not as a stab option, but as just a single target option as well. Right? I can actually hit Calyrex. But yeah. So now I'm just back to, alright, let me get Incineroar on the field, and let me see if I could just slow this Calyrex down before it gets running. Right? I will say this position was interesting for me because now that we're out of Trick Room and I've got 4 healthy mons, or I've got 3 healthy mons because I lose Farigiraf here, but you're +1, and I'm just like, I need to burn Calyrex now, because if I don't, it is cooked. But also, I'm so wary of that Leaf Blade, because the good news is I have 2 water types on the field against Calyrex. The bad news is I have 2 water types on the field against Leaf Blade. And like this mind game of are you gonna wide guard or are you gonna attack, just really sucked. And I had to get these calls right.
That was one of the things that I was like really concerned about as well. And part of the thing I'm thinking here is like, okay, I could definitely go for the Leaf Blade, and especially now getting the Trick Room back up, I'm like, okay, I can definitely start going for them. But just like before, it's kind of like I gotta I'm trying to I'm trying to think about how it's actually gonna work, right? Because I'm sitting here like I'm sitting here like I know that I'm playing someone good, right? So what the like obvious play is like that's gonna occur to you same as me, right? Like
Yeah.
the most obvious thing that I could do here is just Leaf Blade the Kyogre, right? And I'm pretty sure I didn't do that here
No.
because what?
I was gonna say I think I'm pretty sure in this position you actually end up Leaf Blading by Incineroar for that exact reason.
Yeah, yeah, because even still, and especially having gotten the Trick Room up, um it's still about protecting that piece,
Yeah.
right? So I'm thinking if I can get rid of the Incin, maybe you'll protect on that turn, and then I can double up the Kyogre later, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. Which is like a very and like on my end, I know that like all of this is running through your head, but at the same time, I'm like, what is like the safest play that I can make, right? Because at this point, Calyrex does not feel like much of a threat. Yes, you're +1, but you're burned. So like the
Yeah.
way the multipliers work out, right? You're at like it's effective. It's effect. No, it's not exact. It's not exactly like Wochan's on the field, but it's kind of close. Um, no, wait, no. Wochan lowers attack. Yeah, it's like I have tablets of ruin up, right? You're at 3/4 of your damage output. So I'm like, all right,
Yeah, that sounds right.
yeah. So with Kyogre on the field, I feel like pretty good about that, right? I'm like, all right, I can live a hit as long as you don't click Leaf Blade. But then again, right, if you punish me for leaving Kyogre unprotected here, I'm in trouble. So I'm just like, all right, let me not overthink this. And I'm just like, let me just try to do what I can here with Incineroar. And if you Leaf Blade it, so be it. If you read me, fair enough. Um, but I'm just like, let me just make the easy play, right? On paper, I'm in a winning position. So in theory, if I just keep making the easy play, right, I can progress to
Yeah.
a winning state, a winning end game. But there is still so much that can go horribly wrong for me in this position, right? So
Yeah. And even though I called that even though I called that protect and get the Incin,
I
right?
think
And
I
especially
think you do, yeah.
yeah, I'm like 90% sure I that's exactly the play that I go for here.
Apparently not.
Oh, well, I guess I'm wrong.
Yeah. It might be game 3 was the one. There was one game where you leaf bladed
Is
by
that
Terra Water Incineroar. Must have been game 3.
okay? Yeah, because I know I did that, you
Yeah,
know.
and I thought it was on this field. Maybe it was the
Yeah.
next turn.
Okay, I guess I just went for the the obvious play then.
Yeah,
And see, that's what I should have done is gone for the Incin because look how that look how that would have turned out. But at the same time, um you know what? I can kind of tell why I wouldn't have done that, because like how many turns of Trick Room are left at this point?
At
Like
this
this
point,
has
there's
got to be
3 left.
there's 3 left. Okay. Um
So at the start of the
so if
last turn,
I
the start of the
were
last turn was the first turn of Trick Room.
Yeah. So if I were to KO that Ensign, right? If I were to KO that Ensign last turn, um, or even this one, whatever the case may be, you have the slowest thing on the field,
Yes.
you know? Um, and I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure we see this happen after the Ensign goes down, the Gallade goes to bed, and then
I
it's
think
like
that's
I've got to
game 3
burn
that
Calyrex.
happens.
Was that game 3 also?
I think that was
Oh
game
my
3.
goodness.
Yeah, no.
Okay, I'm
Because at a
pushing
certain
myself.
point, like, this matchup is like this matchup is one where I don't know about on your end looking into the Kyogre matchup, but from my
Mhm.
end looking into the Calyrex matchup, these are especially the way your team is constructed, right? These are the
Yeah.
only 4 I can bring. Like, the games are all gonna go more or less the same way if we're both playing optimally. And like we'll see game 3 like really look so similar to this game too.
Yeah.
With just some key turns going really differently. Um yeah, so like here, like once again, I'm like, all right, let me just use Incineroar for as long as I can. Um
Mhm.
if I can get it off the field, cool. If not, so be it. Right? Now that I've knocked off this clear, I'm like, if I can parting shot and then I can get another intimidate down, I feel pretty good about the position. And let me not let Kyogre eat a Leaf Blade, right? Like that's the whole name of the
Mhm.
game at this point. And I'm like, if I can, you are +1 but burned, and this is where I just bet on Amoonguss. I'm just like, if anyone can live this Glacial Lance, it's Amoonguss. And I want to say I lived on like 12 or something stupid here.
It'd be interested to see.
Oh, you
Oh,
clicked
now
high
you go
horse
for the high horsepower.
because you were I think you weren't expecting the Amoonguss switch. So I saw this come out and I was like, oh, thank God. And that's the one turn where I think this and the knockoff into your Amoonguss were like the only times the Rocky Helmet popped in this set. Yeah, this is where you Leaf Blade the Ensign. So I can see the logic in your play, and your play makes sense. You basically cover if Kyogre stays in, it's eating a high horsepower, right? Plus the high crit rate, you never
Mhm.
know. And if Kyogre switches, you've gotten rid of Incineroar, right? But at this point,
But I
your
mean,
Calyrex is on the clock.
yeah, Calyrex is on the clock, and this is where I'm facing down the sleep, right? Because
Yeah.
there should be 2 turns,
There are 2 turns left
right?
to Trick Room. I think you do
Trick
take the
Room.
nap. I do check it here. I'm pretty sure because I need to time out
Yeah,
my protects and stuff. Yeah,
yeah. 2 turns left of Trick Room. My Gallade doesn't have Protect. There's nothing that I can do. You're the slowest thing on the field, so this is effectively over at this point. I could have, and as a matter of fact, if this was at a tournament, I'd have probably forfeit here. Um,
yeah. No use to
because
no.
I'm pretty well and yeah, I'm pretty well checked. Like
Yeah, like at this point, I think I make like the exact plays I need to make. It's about not misplaying, right? I
yeah,
preserve some HP on Kyogre here with the protect, right? Because you should always wide guard in this position. And if you do, whether you do or don't, you cannot wide guard next turn. Well, not exactly actually. Um, so like the Glacial Lance comes out, and I think do we see Amoonguss live this one?
I,
Yeah, this is where we see
yeah,
Amoonguss live on 11, and at this point, I'm just like, okay, I'm pretty okay here. Um, the thing I don't take into account there is, uh, yes, I'm in a pretty good position here, but
mhm.
uh, here I technically fumble my endgame. So
Really?
the play
How
that
so? I don't see an out for me.
the out here is a turn 1 wake wide guard because of the play I made was I said, let me Rage Powder away a Leaf Blade, right?
Mhm.
I was basically trying to cover for Leaf Blade plus Protect, or I don't know what I was doing, right? I don't like that Rage Powder in the moment. I was like, let me redirect away a Leaf Blade, but realistically, you're never clicking Leaf Blade into Amoonguss. Amoonguss is not there, right? So here I clicked Rage Powder plus Water Spout. I needed to click Protect on Amoonguss
Mhm.
because uh if you get the turn 1 Wake and Wide Guard, um I'm in trouble next turn. Um because here if you so
Then
like yeah,
the
here we
Amoonguss
see
would drop to replace the lands.
yeah. So here we see the Glacial Lance come out, right? Amoonguss gets
Mhm.
KO'd. You're at +2 and you're burned. It's basically all equal. Um and importantly here, Gallade stays asleep. Um,
Yeah.
if you get the turn 1 Wake and Leaf Blade, I don't know if I live it because you are Intimidate dropped once, I think. Um, but I'm pretty sure I don't live it. Um, if I do, I still win. But if you got the turn 1 Wake and Wide Guard here,
Mhm.
right? This Water Spout doesn't pick up the KO or it doesn't pick up the double. We get out of Trick Room. You can then at that point, then you have options. You're still in it because even though, let me back up a second here. Um, let's see Calyrex's HP. Uh, I think at this point, Calyrex still had 1 turn to burn before it dropped.
Gotcha. I'm trying to think what I would do in that position because now that you're saying that, like, yeah, I see how that I see how that would I see how that could be bad for you.
Yeah. So
To be
like,
honest with you, I think that in if I happen to find myself in that position, I think that I think that I would predict you not to go for a not to go for a spread move. Um,
on the
I think
subsequent
I
turn.
would
Yeah.
yeah, I think that like if we found ourselves in that position that you're saying where I get the turn one wake wide guard, right? And so now it's no trick room and this is the same field where you have Kyogre and I have a Gallade that's awake and Calyrex that's burned, right? I think my play there to be honest would be to trick room with both of them and just cross my fingers.
Uh,
Um
well, hold on. No. Because your Calyrex is burned. At the end of the turn, you take the burn chip here. So it's your last turn with Calyrex. Calyrex drops at the end of that turn.
hmm.
So I'm trying to think through because in the moment after I clicked and when I saw the rage powder go off, I was like, hold on, turn 1 wide guard or turn 1 wake wide guard beats me here because at that point, right, I'm staring down Calyrex that's about to drop to burn, Gallade.
Mhm.
I'm outside a trick room. Um there is a and you are at +2. Um there's a world, but it's tough because in that position, I basically bank on uh it depends on whether your Gallade can live an Ice Beam from this range.
That's tough. I don't know that for sure.
We'll find out next game because I'm pretty sure I click Ice Beam from full on Gallade next game. And I did it earlier this game too. I forget if you can live Ice Beam from here. Um, but if so, yeah, from here, if you got the Wake and you clicked Wide Guard, and Calyrex takes the burn chip, I probably just say, let me ooh. If I protect and let Calyrex drop, you get the speed advantage with Gallade under Trick Room. That's an out, right? That's 1 out for you. Another out for you is if I click Ice Beam into Gallade and you get a high horsepower crit. I don't know how much that does to Kyogre, right? That's another out. If I could definitely fumble and click Wide Guard, or I click Water Spout, right? You click Wide Guard. You get either single target Glacial Lance or high horsepower, whichever one you're feeling, right? And from there, Gallade can probably clean up, assuming you live in Ice Beam, right? Yeah, there's a lot of. I think there are ways. The most obvious one is I protect to let the Calyrex drop. You set up Trick Room, and then you kill me with Leaf Blade. That's like the most obvious way I could have fumbled that. If you get the turn 1 Wake with Wide Guard. But either way, like, it's just such a intricate and such a mind melting matchup. And
yeah, at this point we're talking about things that have like a 1% chance of happening, you know.
well, because it's like these sets of decisions that like we both need to make, right? And I was definitely like in the winning position, but there were outs, and I did fumble that, and it could have gone badly. And so,
no, I get
it.
Oh no, I was saying I follow. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. My mind was kind of running through that a little bit at that point, but I was also just like, all right, we're on to game 3. And heading into game 3, I was in that game too. Like, there was a lot of moments, like the Amoonguss living that Glacial Lance, and you not getting a turn 1 Wake and clicking Wide Guard, right? And like, there's a lot of you clicking Wide Guard and me clicking Ice Beam, right? There was a lot of those plays that happened right for me in game 2. So heading into game 3, I was like, I have to run with the same 4 because I can't run with anything else. But I'm gonna need to get every turn right again to win this.
Meanwhile, I adjust again.
You adjust your leads. I think you bring the same 4. Or do you bring Ursaluna again?
What's that?
Did you bring Ursaluna again, or?
Yeah. So I believe I brought Ursaluna to games 1 and 3. I don't think I brought it to game 2.
Yeah, you didn't bring it to game 2, but you did bring Ursaluna to this game again. You dropped Amoonguss. Which, I mean, to be fair, makes sense, right? Amoonguss for both of us is kind of useless. I'm just forced to bring it. You have options. But yeah, at this point, it's your game 1 lead, my game 2 lead, and it's just a matter of, all right, from here, what does the position kind of look like? And this turn 1 immediately sets the tone.
For me, what I was thinking here was that yes, I can go, you know, like I almost always have the option to Trick Room turn 1, right?
Yep.
But have I done it? No. And so I'm thinking here, like, I haven't Trick Roomed on the first turn in like any of these matches. So is he gonna expect me to do that now? And I'm like, no, I don't think so. And so that's why I'm like, I'm gonna go for it.
Yeah, so you end up clicking, you end up, what do you end up doing? You end up you hard switch into Ursaluna in the Gallade slot and try to get into Trick Room just to immediately put that offensive pressure on. Meanwhile, on my side, what I'm thinking when I see this lead is Trick Room looks good for me. Because
really?
Because there is nothing you can do to stop me from clicking Parting Shot, getting in Amoonguss, and putting something to sleep. With the exception of, at least if I get the position where if I get Parting Shot into either your Gallade or your Indeedee, if you follow me or whatever, right? I get Amoonguss in and I click Trick Room and I'm under Trick Room, I'm basically forcing you to Terra Grass follow me.
Yeah.
Right? And from there, I like that position a lot because I don't remember this, but I don't remember this in the moment, but right, you can't really hit Amoonguss with Gallade. I have Pollen Puff that I can throw out onto Indeedee for some good chunk damage, right? I can get Farigiraf out and bring Incineroar back in, right? Your Amoonguss isn't on the field, so I have like the freedom of movement in a way. Whereas on your side, I'm like dictating the pace in Trick Room with Amoonguss. So that's what I'm thinking here. And I'm like, hold on. Trick Room looks really good for me. So we both want to get into Trick Room here, which is wild. And here, like, I'm like thinking it through. I'm like, is Trick Room good? Is Trick Room good? I think Trick Room is good. And then I see you hard switch. And when I see you hard switch, my initial plan here, I see you hard my initial plan here was to get in Amoonguss in this slot. And I don't know if you noticed this in real time. I sat here for so long because I was like, hold on, Indeedee didn't click follow me. Indeedee didn't click helping hand. There's no way you clicked D-Gleam. You must have clicked Trick Room. And I noticed this and I'm like, hold on. I actually, like, we're gonna both click Trick Room and Kyogre's gonna be the fastest thing on the field. And so I swear, it felt like I sat there for so much longer thinking about that switch in. Because I was sitting there like, I was so ready to just switch in Amoonguss, and then the second Ursaluna hits the field and you don't move with Indeedee, I'm like, if you click Dazzling Gleam, fair play. You got me. But I was just sitting here like, there's no shot. There's no shot. There's no shot. There's no shot.
Yeah,
he didn't click Trick Room, did he?
Yeah, no, I did consider the possibility that you clicked Trick Room, but like I said, again, I was like, you definitely don't predict that when I haven't done it like at all.
Yeah,
you know,
no.
that would be super risky to be like, oh, he's definitely gonna go for Trick Room turn 1 when he hasn't done it in games 1 or 2. You know?
Yeah, no, that's one where like we both saw an opening for Trick Room, and it just happened to work out that I was also thinking of hard switching Incineroar, and I was like, no, there is no reason not to Parting Shot because I knew my Incineroar was faster than your Gallade.
Yeah, outside of Trick Room, yeah, you've definitely got the speed advantage, like pretty much any time. Like I said, the Gallade is 0 speed.
Exactly.
You know?
So and that's something like we had established because you Leaf Bladed before my Incineroar moved in Trick Room Game 2. So, I was like, okay. Initially, I was like hard switch into Amoonguss and click Trick Room, but then I was like, hold on, I have no reason not to click Parting Shot, and that gives me an opportunity to see what you go for, and that ended up panning out because I'd like process of elimination my way down into hold on, Blake click Trick Room.
That's pretty solid. And so right here in this next turn, obviously, you know, you can't hear me, but
yeah.
I'm literally like, I'm aghast right now. and I'm literally out loud saying, you don't do that again. I'm literally like daring you to reverse it again.
Yeah.
Right
Meanwhile, on my end, I was like, I saw that Indeedee. There was moments in this set where like I popped off so hard. Seeing Indeedee use Trick Room was one of them. Where I was just like, oh my god! I logicked my way through it. I got it right, and now I'm putting out the offensive pressure. And at this point, like I'm like, you can Terra Grass. I don't care. I know you're gonna protect Trick Room. I don't care. I'm gonna click Helping Hand Water Spout. I think even with +1 Spadef, this does a healthy amount of damage. In retrospect, the correct play is always just to Ice Beam your Indeedee. But like,
yeah, that would have been good. That would have been a good play.
In retrospect, like that's the correct play. But at the end of the day, like I'm just putting out so much pressure that I don't think it particularly matters.
Yeah, not to mention too. I mean, from the way it sounds like you're pretty excited in this moment as well. So it's kind of hard to be like, oh, I'm gonna sit here and think of the exact optimal play
Yeah.
when you're kind of in the middle of popping off, you
No,
know?
exactly. And like that's one of the things where it's like it's definitely like it's dangerous, right? To like you can't let yourself get too hot at the table, right? Because you're gonna miss
Yeah.
something. But at the same time, like I remember thinking through, like even if you tear a grass, I think I still do healthy damage. Um,
Oh, for sure.
I think in the moment I was thinking through base in the moment, like as the water spout's going off, I'm like without psychic seed, I think this KOs even resisted. And I think
Oh,
that is it's tough to tell. I think without
that's that's close. That might be a roll
yeah, without
to
psychic seed, that's
to
probably a roll to KO. It's probably a
yeah.
poor roll, but I was like, I know Protect Trick Room is coming, and there was a small part of me
Mm.
that was like, do I? There was a small part of me like at the beginning of the turn that was like, do I click Trick Room again with Frigraph? And I
Right, of
ultimately
course.
decide that if I'm in Trick Room and if we're under Trick Room and you have full health Ursaluna and you have Indeedee on the field and this is the position, right? Um, like once this is the position we get into, I basically decided this position is still like it is slightly less good for me for sure. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, like I don't feel too bad about this position considering I feel pretty good about the bulk on both of these mons, and I think I'm in a solid spot here. Um,
Yeah, I wouldn't consider this a terrible position for either of us.
Yeah, no. Like
Mm.
we both have things we like here, right? You're under Trick Room with
Yeah.
Ursaluna putting out a ton of pressure. Um,
Mm.
I have 4 Pokemon that have taken no damage, and have chunked your Indeedee down, and your Indeedee is like one of the sticking points of my team. Because if I can get rid of this
Yeah.
Indeedee, Amoonguss just runs wild.
Yeah.
Um, and here, I don't know why I clicked in the moment. In the moment I was like, do I Trick Room here? And I was like, I think Farigiraf drops anyways, so I didn't click Trick Room. I just was like, let me get some damage off. In hindsight,
Mm.
if Farigiraf drops anyways, why not just click Trick Room, right? Um, I also I should have known that my Farigiraf was faster than your Ursaluna, but I also like
Mm.
I don't know if that's a speed interaction we'd seen yet, and I wasn't 100% sure. But yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know the exact speed interaction between Farigiraf and Ursaluna. Um, I didn't even realize this was a helping hand blood moon. Um, I was just like, all right. In my mind, the best case scenario from this turn was
Mm.
Farigiraf drops. I get. Oh, this is why I didn't click Trick Room. I was like, all right. There's no way Farigiraf lives this turn. Let me get some chip on
Yeah.
Indeedee. Let me get Amoonguss on the field, and let me put this Ursaluna to sleep. Right? Or at least like threaten that and, kind of go from there. I thought Twin Beam might be able to pick up Indeedee. That was the other thing I was thinking. Because you no longer resist it. And
I
then I saw
see.
the Helping Hand Blood Moon, and I was like, there's no world. There's no world. I underestimated Farigiraf. I apologize.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy actually that it lived that. Like I feel like there's not a lot of things that would live that.
Helping Hand Blood Moon is stupid strong, right? You still hit ghost types. If you're not a steel type, you have no business
Mm.
living that move. And yet here stands Farigiraf, tall and proud. And it didn't KO Indeedee, and now I'm just sitting there like, I'm in trouble. But also at this point, I know you can't click Blood Moon again, so I'm like, all right, I think I'm okay. I assumed your Hyper Voice would get me out of Water Spout range, so I ended up clicking Origin
Mm.
Pulse, and I was just like, let me just preserve Farigiraf, because why not, right? It helps to have it, and I don't see any reason to open that slot on this turn. This Hyper Voice did much less than I thought it would. I'm not gonna lie.
Mm. Yeah, and I'm
Like I was expecting,
yeah,
I was expecting for Hyper Voice to be a 2-shot or something close to it.
that is kind of funny. Now, like looking at that now, that is, I don't know. I guess a little bit surprising,
Yeah.
the damage on that, especially because I'm Life Orb and that was Helping Hand too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you have a lot of bulk on your Kyogre,
Not an
or is
insane
it just
amount.
speed?
Not an insane amount. I mean, it's not very high speed.
Mhm.
But I am like it's max HP and uh, it's what? It's max HP. I forget which special attack bump I hit. I invest a bit of speed, and then it's just dumped into defenses. In fact, I think it's dumped into physical defense. I think I'm only 4 SPDF. So
Yeah, maybe that's
250.
just Kyogre,
Yeah,
because
that's restricted bulk right there. Is what that is.
yeah, because I'm for on the bear, I'm max special attack with a special attack raising nature,
Yup.
and plus the life orb plus the helping hand. Like, anything else would have taken much more damage.
Yeah. No. 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 The hyper voice is spread, so you drop
Yeah,
from 90 to uh 70 something point 5. Uh, I don't know
yeah,
exactly
something
what the
like
number
that.
is, but yeah.
I,
Um,
I think it is
or
like
60.
75%, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
each at 75%. Hold on,
Yeah.
I'll just do this now.
Yeah. 90
Oh,
times point seven five.
67.5. It
67
drops
point.
from 90 to 67.5.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not accounting for stab though.
Well, yeah, but that's just like
Hold on.
the base power. So it's a 67.5
Oh,
base
well,
power move, and then you get stab, and then you get helping hand, which is 2.25, and then you get life orb, which is another 1.3. Uh,
I mean, that math, unless I did it wrong, that math works out to 197.43.
that does not sound right.
Just,
No. Uh, so it's a 90 base power move times 0.75
okay, yeah.
times 1.5 times 1.3 times 1.5. No. What? Really? No.
Did you get the same thing I did?
Yeah. Is helping hand 50%?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on, hold
Yeah.
on.
Helping hand is 1.5.
Let's do
It's
this.
the same as if you were, it's like being +1 for one turn.
Yeah. So it's a spread move.
Mhm.
It's stab. It's life orb. It's helping hand.
Yeah. It starts
Kyogre's
with
just
90.
built different? What? No. Someone someone has to check our math on that, because Kyogre cannot just be that bulky. That's not okay. That's not legal. I mean, I guess it is legal now. It's Reg G, but like that's not legal. Yeah.
Hold on.
Also,
Let
in
me
that position, I was
see.
so afraid of missing an Origin Pulse, and it ended up working
Uh,
out.
yeah, I mean that's another thing we established. You didn't miss one Origin Pulse, like, at
No,
all.
no, and this Origin Pulse, I,
Hmm.
I, I think I had room to miss it on Ursaluna. I needed to hit this on
Hmm.
Indeedee, for sure. I needed to get rid of
Yeah.
Indeedee, because I committed to staying in Trick Room, and since I committed to staying in Trick Room, Indeedee had to go, so Amoonguss could do its thing.
Oh, real quick, just as a follow up on the Kyogre thing.
Yeah,
I'm on Cerebi looking at Kyogre's base 140 special defense. So
yeah, yeah. Kyogre is just built different. And it's HP too. It's like base 100 something, right?
yeah, base 100 HP, base 100 attack, but who cares? 90 defense, base 90 defense, 150 for special attack, 140 for special defense, 90 speed.
Yeah,
So,
it's built different.
yeah, so seeing the special defense now, no, I'm not super surprised about it surviving. The
197 effective base power. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, at this point, you clicked Trick Room 2 turns ago, I believe. And this is, in a way, like, I was talking about how, like, because I have to bring the same 4 mons, all these games kind of start to look the same.
Mhm.
This is a very similar position to where we were at in game 2. Um, you're
Yeah.
down to Gallade and Calyrex. We're under Trick Room. And I have 3 healthy Pokemon. Um, because in that game 2, it was 4, and then Friggraph immediately drops to a Glacial Liz, right? So, like, all these games, it's interesting because, like, there are some of these matchups where it's like there's really only one way you can play. Um,
Mhm.
which for me is kind of nice to learn, um, and also terrifying because it basically means going into any tournament with this Kyogre team. I need to learn. I need to either come in and figure out the Kyogre matchup game 1, or if not, I better figure it out game 2. Um, and hope that I
Yeah.
can replicate it game 3, which is what happened here, right? Game 1, I did not see the lines. Game 2, I figured out the lines, and game 3, I had to replicate them. And everything
Yeah.
had to go right, right? Um,
Yeah. And so right now as well, one of the things I'm definitely looking at is that you're definitely vulnerable for 2 KOs here, right?
oh yeah,
If I Glacial Lance Leaf Blade, Frigg and Kyogre both drop.
yeah.
Um,
And
ooh.
importantly, for a graph just protected last turn.
Yeah, especially then.
Yeah.
Um,
So like Furgraph kind of has to drop here, or it has to switch out into something that's gonna drop.
yeah, I know again with the memory, but one thing that I'm just thinking about in seeing this spot is you've got Ensign in the back, right?
Yep.
And me with 2 physical attackers out, um, like it would not be it would not be a huge surprise to me for you to swap Kyogre for Ensign. Um, and in that case, it feels like Glacial Lance Sacred Sword
Mm. Yeah.
would be a good play here.
Yeah. And
I'm not sure if KOs, but
yeah, it's definitely, well, Glacial Lance Sacred Sword, if Incin swaps into the Kyogre slot, almost
yeah,
definitely KOs. Um, because we saw Sacred Sword Oko Incin after an Intimidate drop in game 1.
was that not helping handed though?
Oh, that was helping handed. You're right. But even then, right, the Glacial Lance chip is non-negligible, right? Even on Fire type Incineroar, you're still doing like a solid 20%.
Hmm.
Yeah. So here I'm like, I resigned to like Frugraph's gonna drop. If for some crazy reason you like wide guard high horsepower or you double into the Kyogre slot, I get out of Trick Room. But I was like, I'm pretty resigned to letting Farigiraf drop, letting Amoonguss or Incineroar hit the field, and putting the pressure on that way. And I
Hmm.
was not counting my Psychic Terrain turns. It ended up working out really nicely for me. Um,
Yeah, definitely, because then you get the uh, what's it? You get priority back.
yeah, yeah, and I didn't notice that until the end of the turn here. And yeah, you did cover for the Incineroar switch, which is like
That was the exact play that I was. That's the funny thing is I didn't remember that being like exactly my logic, but just in looking at the board state, that's I thought of the exact same thing again.
yeah, which is reassuring, right? Because it's like, hold on, like even outside of the battle, like if I thought through this way and that's what I did, I came to the correct play, right? Like you definitely came to the correct play there. I was just in a position where I was like, I don't like this board state, but if as long as I get a clean switch into someone, right? I like this board state a lot more. And then I saw the psychic terrain go away, and that made my decision for me. Where I was like, all right, now Incineroar has to be the one to hit the field. I have fake out pressure. It was tough for me to figure out what to do with it though, because in my mind I was like, all right, how do I best take advantage of this fake out pressure? I believe I
Mhm.
check. There's one turn of Trick Room left. I'm fairly certain. Um, do I check it? I
Yeah,
should check it.
I think you're right about that. That there's one turn Trick Room. So one of the let me see.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see if I
I,
check the Trick Room turrets here, because I should.
yeah. So one of the things for me is that I'm a little bit concerned. Like you're going for fake out on Gallade for me is the worst scenario here. Um, because once that happens, my sash is broken for basically nothing.
Yeah.
Um, and one of the things I like to use it for is survive, survive a big hit and get the trick room back up.
Yes.
I feel like having the sash broken on on a fake out is like, especially when I've got, I mean, obviously the terrain's gone down now, which is why this is what's going to happen, but like it almost feels like especially disappointing, you know?
Yeah, yeah, because you're so used to with this team, right? When Galade's on the field, there's almost always psychic terrain up, and that's never something you have to think about. But getting put into this position where now it's like,
Yeah.
wow, I could just get my sash broken by fake out, and then I'm vulnerable to just getting O-code. It
Yeah.
is definitely
And
like a
again,
rough one.
no protect on Gallade, so
Yeah, and that's why I ended up settling on just fake out into Galade, in part because I was like, all right, if Calyrex attacks and I don't fake it out, I can at least live the glacial lance. Or if you send high horsepower into Kyogre, I live that. Um,
mm,
I probably should have Terran Incineroar. I think the reason I didn't was because I was like, I am faking out Gallade. I'm not threatened by a Leaf Blade into Kyogre. And, if I could KO Gallade here with an Origin Pulse, then I could Terra a Moongus, right? And get the Ice Resist there. Um, so like I think that was like my thinking through of not tearing. I think I do end up having to Terra Incineroar anyways. Um, but yeah, when I see no protect from Calyrex, I'm a little nervous because I'm like, there's a chance I got this play really wrong if you high horsepower the Incineroar, because then you're up to +2, and I like sincerely doubted Origin Pulse picks up the KO on Calyrex. Uh, Also, I don't know if we're gonna address this. I was a little too confident that his Kyogre lived high horsepower there. I was a little too confident about that one.
yeah, that was very close.
7. In this game, we see Farigiraf live on like 2, and we see
Yeah.
Kyogre live on 7. I was a little too confident in that, in living that high horsepower on Kyogre. But I was like, you know what? I gotta trust it. And again, not missing Origin Pulses makes it so much easier. This was the point where I realized your Gallade has like a stupid amount of Spadef.
Um,
Because you ate that Origin Pulse a little too well.
yeah, so Gallade, let me see. Gallade's base SPDEF is 115.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's insane. Yeah,
Uh
no matter your
and
investment, just
I'm
base
max
one spit.
HP.
Yeah, well, yeah, Gallade kind of has to be. So like, even off of Gallade's relatively lower HP stat, right? 115 Spadef is putting in work for eating these Origin Pulses and these Ice Beams and these Twin Beams and
Yeah.
everything. Um, but yeah, at this point, I'm looking at the board state, and we're out of Trick Room. Um, and I'm like, all right, this is my one shot. I have to burn Calyrex here to win the game. Like, and game 2 also came down to I gotta burn Calyrex here to get into a winning position. Here it was later in the
Mhm.
game. It was like, all right, the game is won or lost on this Will-O-Wisp, basically. At least on my end. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
Did I not Terra? I
I'm
should have Terra'd.
hmm,
I had to have Terra'd,
I'm
right? Really? I'm not. No. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right.
There you go.
Yeah. It took me a second to get there. I think I was thinking through some other lines, but there is really nothing there outside of protect Kyogre, and burn this Calyrex, right? Um, because Kyogre has kind of sort of done its job. It's chunked down everything. It's survived Trick Room. It's landed its Origin Pulses, right? And I know Terra Water. If I get the burn, Terra Water, uh, Incineroar can beat Gallade. It can beat Gallade. It can beat Calyrex. Um, it is a
And
it is a little dicey depending on whether we're in or out of Trick Room, but
mhm.
um, Terra importantly Terra Water Incineroar beats Calyrex. So at this point, I'm like, all right, as long as I can get this burn on Calyrex, I'm chilling.
And just in hindsight now, because I don't think that I protect the Calyrex here.
I think
Um,
maybe you do protect Trick Room. I clicked Origin
do
Pulse. Oh my
do I?
god, I I I
Because
stepped on the gas. Oh right, because I stepped on the gas because I was like, I need to KO Gallade so that Terra Water Incineroar can beat Calyrex. That's what it was.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, because like right now I'm just trying to think, is there any possible way I could get the Trick Room back?
Yeah,
You
this
know,
was
and
tough because there wasn't really a very clean way you could. Um let's see how much HP you have on Calyrex. We'll see it right here. Yeah. Um I think Wide Guard plus Trick Room on Calyrex guarantees you get Trick Room back.
yeah,
Because from this
yeah, Calyrex wouldn't. I mean,
you don't drop to knockoff.
you
We learned that last game. We
you
learned knockoff does like we learned knockoff does less than 50 to Calyrex. So um but yeah, when you didn't click when you didn't click Wide Guard, because I was ready to kind of let Kyogre drop if you went for Wide Guard Trick Room. Um because then Amoonguss comes out, I can spore the Gallade and Terra Water Incineroar wins. Um
Mm.
but when you didn't click Wide Guard and I landed my Origin Pulses, I was like, all right, this end game kind of feels clean. Um but importantly, in this set, I don't miss an Origin Pulse, I don't miss a Will-O-Wisp. And like I
yeah,
needed all of them at the moments that I got them, basically. To win the set. Which is cool but also terrifying because I know heading into my next couple tournaments, if I come up against a Calyrex Ice, like everything has to go perfectly. And even then, right, like game 2 there was an out for you. This game there was an out, right? Wide Guard Trick Room completely changes this matchup.
yeah. Like I said, I was thinking about things that weren't there though.
Yeah, of
Just
course,
now
of
that I
course.
realize that. Um,
Yeah.
so and
Which it is what it
at
is. We
this
played
point,
this set
yeah,
what like at this point it's like 9:30 in the evening after like a full
mm,
day, right, of, you know, doing other things that are not Pokemon. So,
yeah. I was at work all day and everything like that. I mean, not I don't know, not like that. I don't know.
well,
It,
no, it's
it,
not making excuses.
just
It's just like genuine like that's life. Like, you know, you're gonna,
yeah,
you know, this is as close as this is to tournament conditions, right? This isn't exactly tournament conditions. So,
yeah.
um any final thoughts from this set on like your Kyogre matchup or like, you know, uh any thoughts on like my team in terms of like, you know, things that like stood out to you as like, oh, this could definitely use some patching or this looked really good into what I wanted to do.
No, I thought you're I thought you were pretty solid. You know, like I was like I said, I was basically always playing around the Frigraph. Um, and like let me see, and even though both Among Us like checked each other and everything, it still also was a pretty solid problem for me, you know.
Yeah, Among Us is
Like it,
still Among Us.
yeah, like it's to the point that I get why other people run, you know, Terra Grass on their Calyrex.
I will say it was very reassuring winning that set yesterday, like off rip, the first best of 3 set I play after Indy. Um,
Mhm.
because I was like, oh man, am I gonna have to adjust my team for the Maridon matchup? No, I have the tools, I just need to use them. And similarly with this, I was like, oh man, do I have the tools to beat a Calyrex matchup? I do.
Yeah, you definitely do.
I just have to play out of my mind and not miss moves. Um, like I think I could have afforded to miss maybe one Will-O-Wisp somewhere in there, and I could have afforded to miss one or two Origin Pulses between those games 2 and 3. So
Yeah, you did hit like all your moves. Um, so let me ask just some things that I've been thinking about.
no, of course,
As far as like as far as like making some changes, and so like I think we already kind of talked about. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna change NDD to either Psychic or Psyshock. I'm not sure which yet,
yeah.
but I'm probably gonna do that. Um, and the other thing that I'm thinking about is like maybe I need to move my safety goggles, right?
Mm,
From Ensign to something else. Like like maybe I moved the safety goggles to Gallade, you know? Because I don't think there was a point when it actually went down to Sash, like at all.
no, never.
You know?
Um, and just in general, like I don't know what there is in the
Mhm.
metagame now outside of Specs Maridon that Oko's Gallade.
Mhm.
Um, but I will say, I think if you do want a safety goggles user that's not Incineroar, I feel like my
Mhm.
gut instinct says Indeedee. Because
Mhm.
one, you can afford to run a different defensive Terra on Indeedee if you have goggles. You don't need to commit to Terra Grass. Um, and then two, right? You don't need to burn your Terra to redirect spores.
That is true, and I think I'll test that. The one thing that the one thing that I'm concerned about with that is that like I think I mentioned the entire reason that I'm even running Indeedee instead of Farigiraf is to get the terrain war with Miraidon,
Yeah.
right? Because that's not 100% of the reason, but that is one of the main reasons. Because I've had that sort of thing happen where you know I lead NDD and they lead Maridon, and because I get my terrain in that scenario, um, it actually like it cuts the Maridon damage like a lot,
Oh yeah.
you know.
You lose the
Um,
Hadron engine and terrain boost. So that's all you're cutting that down to uh what's 13 times 13? Uh or 1.3 times
um,
1.3. Uh whatever that whatever 1 1/3 and 1 1/3 multiplied is, right? You cut that much out. So
yeah. Um, and so it's so I definitely do I definitely do value having the NDD in you know for the way the meta is right now. Especially with Miraidon having won so recently.
yeah.
Um, yeah, the other thing that I was thinking about doing is maybe putting maybe putting Snarl onto Ensign somewhere.
Snarl's not a bad
Um,
tech onto Ensign. Do you have the room for it? You probably have the room for it. You're just gonna have to give something up. Um, and like the taunt tech on Ensign is pretty nice. Um, oh, this Incineroar does not have fake out. I don't know. I just realized. Um, yeah, you probably have
I didn't
room.
even bring Ensign to any of the. I didn't bring Ensign to any of our matches.
It makes sense against the Kyogre team. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
that as a matter of fact, the taunt is the taunt was how I adapted to remember what I was telling you about the Clefairies,
yeah. Oh,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, because
yeah,
I kind of figured I could bring in Incin, taunt when it tries to after you, and then I can start attacking proper.
yeah.
Um,
I will say, uh, if the main reason for you to have taunt is to, uh, play against opposing Clefairy Shadow Rider, uh, you can replace taunt with Snarl because under Trick Room, yes, Clefairy can after you, but you Terra Shadow Rider and Incineroar naturally resists Astral Barrage. And from there, one, you can out damage trade it probably with Glacial Lance. There's a good to fair chance. Two, you can click Snarl.
yeah, and I think that I would probably bring Incin more often then. Because
Yeah,
I actually don't bring it a lot. I know I didn't like bring it to any of these games at all, but I also don't bring it a lot regardless, you know?
yeah. I think the sign that you've landed on the right Incineroar spread is that it
Hmm,
is contributing a lot to a good chunk of your games. Um, like obviously, like
okay.
for me, like this is a matchup against a physical restricted. Incineroar is mandatory, right? Um,
Yeah.
but even in general, right? Like against Shadow Rider, Incineroar does a lot for me because of knockoff pressure, because of parting shot, because it just naturally resists, right? If I throw Incineroar and Farigiraf in front of a Shadow Rider, it's not doing any damage, right? All the offensive pressure is gone. I can slowly dictate the pace of play. Um, if I bring Incineroar against, I've brought it against like Miraidon, right? Where, just being able to click, or no, sorry, I don't have Snarl on mine. Um, but like being able to click a parting shot is really useful in that matchup, right? Because I can live a hit, pivot out, and go from there, right? So, uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I think this if you're not if you have Incineroar on your team and it's not coming to a lot of your games, definitely just toy around with the set because eventually you'll land on four moves and an item where it is positively contributing to every match that it comes to. You'll find yourself just bringing it more and more because it's the best utility bond in the game for sure. So I love how I said I'm gonna try not to keep you here for 2 hours, and we've been on this call for 3 hours.
Yeah, it's like after midnight now. It's like
Yeah,
12:20.
yeah, no. I'm not gonna keep you any longer because it's still
Yeah,
the middle of the
I gotta
week. But
I gotta go to bed soon because I got work in the morning.
no. But thanks for hopping on call, dude. Appreciate it. It was
Absolutely. No, this
thanks for
was
running this
fun.
practice set. Thanks for breaking it down after because hearing your insights into the matchup too is definitely
Mhm.
helpful for me thinking about like the Calyrex Ice matchup moving forward. I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, no problem at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, just let me know if you want to have another match sometime.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's a wrap on that conversation with Blake. Uh, I think we yapped for another like 15 minutes afterwards, but I'm gonna spare you all the time. Uh, thank you if you've watched through. Let me know if this was interesting, if this was informative, if y'all want to see more of this style of like, prep and breakdown, because this bore fruit for me in the tournaments that we played this weekend, and it's something I'm gonna incorporate into my prep a lot more next season. So if y'all want to see this happen on the channel, let me know, and I'll bring you guys uh those uh those conversations, those breakdowns. Let me know if y'all want to see uh the uncut version of that conversation, or just the footage from the practice set too. Um, Let me know if y'all want to see those. Uh, a video is gonna come out hopefully sometime this week, if not next week. Going through all the tournaments I played, because I've played a lot of Pokemon this weekend, and I'm somehow not burnt out of Pokemon. So yeah, I'm gonna go through all the tournaments and my performance, but I think the prep sessions like this one with Blake really helped me do a lot better um, than I normally do. And so, yeah, I can feel myself improving at the game, and that's what this is about, right? This is the VGC Master Quest. We're looking to improve at the game. Uh, Thank you, as always, for tuning in. Leave one of these on the video if you enjoyed it. Uh, I hope I remember. I'll put Blake's channel instead of my channel here, so go give him a sub. Um, and until next time, folks, from myself and from where you going? Oh, never mind. All right, I was gonna say from myself and Kat, but Kat is running away. Uh, take care.